All right, paragraph 23, termination option.
Option. So this is one you don't want to miss. Why don't you want to miss it?
Because if you miss this paragraph right here, your buyer has no out of the contract. Well, they have a few other outs of the contract, but this one right here specifically is for the out of the contract for a fee for a certain amount of days.
Absolutely. Is there a right or wrong amount to put in here?
There's not a right or wrong amount that's in
Correct.
here. It doesn't matter what you put in here. It's common to see a certain amount. I mean, here in this area, I mentioned it before, we see $150 to $250. What was it really designed for, though?
So it was really designed for the buyer to give a acceptable fee to the seller to basically take their house off the market to allow them to do inspections. And most sellers would not agree that $100 is an acceptable amount.
No.
And it's also, you know, a lot of buyer's agents say, well, I don't want my buyers to have to pay that much. Well, the more the buyer puts down in the option, then the more vested they are in the property and a little harder to walk away from.
Correct.
So, you know, there's a different rule of thumb on that. So if you're the listing agent, get as much as you can. And if you're the buyer's agent, I'm going to tell you to get as much as you can just because you want that buyer vested in that property. But again, it's completely up to the buyer. And if the buyer's going to be making offers on several properties, then you don't want to put a whole lot in here.
Yeah, and it really depends on where you are in the state of Texas. For example, in Bell County, which is where Fort Hood Killeen is, it's common practice there for like $50 for 15 to 20 days.
Because the military.
Because of the military, and so that's common practice in that area. And
in your higher priced homes like in Westover and Fort Worth or in Highland Park or University Park in Dallas, if you bring in anything less than $500, they won't even look at it.
Yeah.
So it all depends on who your audience is.
So you're going to put the amount of money that you've agreed to put there, and then the amount of days that you want for your option period, and then 2 boxes are missed on this so
All
often.
the time.
All the time. There's still 2 boxes you have to fill out before you're done writing this portion of the contract for the terms. Your option fee will be credited at closing, or your option fee will not be credited at closing. So basically, do you want $100 off the price of the home that you've already paid, or do you want to pay an additional $100 for the home? Or I'm using $100 as as an example, but keep that in mind.
So what's highlighted here?
Well, time is of the essence for this paragraph, and strict compliance with the time for performance is required. How long do you have to get your option money in?
I don't know, Scott. How long do you have?
3 days.
That's it.
3 days. And this, legal holidays, all that stuff, don't count.
Off the table.
If you go under contract and let me rephrase this. When you execute this contract, your time starts the next day. So if you execute on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday by 11:59 p.m.
Period.
By 11:59 p.m.
Bar none.
Yes. At that point in time, it becomes the seller's choice as to whether or not they want to let you have an option. When I say want, they really get to choose this. They could look at you and say, "You had your time. I'm sorry, you have no option." In which case, there's a great class that I would highly recommend everyone take, even if you're just a listing agent. It's called the 34 Buyer Outs of the Contract. There are other ways to get out of the contract, yet this is the specific paragraph that gives you the option to back out of the contract. So make sure that you're following it and you get it in that amount of days.
Very good. Totally
All right.
agree.
Paragraph 24, consult an attorney before signing. That one's pretty darn obvious. If there are attorneys involved in this paragraph, put the appropriate names right there. And right here it says, TREC rules prohibit real estate license holders from giving legal advice. And then it says in bold, not in bold print, but it should be in bold, yeah. It says in caps, all caps, read this contract carefully. We live in the age of digital signing, y'all. People click next, sign, next, sign, next, sign. You have an obligation, you have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure your clients know what they're signing. If you haven't gone over the paragraph with them, or the contract with them paragraph by paragraph, when they're signing, okay. Yet, if you have gone over it with them before in your buyer consultation, that's the best time to do it. Go through the entire contract with them and make sure that they truly understand and ask you the questions on the front end, because that's how you set yourself apart from your competitors. Most people in this industry are just looking for the next deal. They're not looking to truly service a client and create a client for life. When you sit down with your clients at the front end, especially a first-time home buyer, and you walk them through this, they're going to have so much appreciation and gratitude for you because you've walked them through it. And then when they get that DocuSign notification in their email from you, they're already going to know what they're walking into because you've told them the terms and you've documented all of that stuff for them. And I would still, especially with a brand new home buyer, walk through it with them again and make sure they truly know. All right? And then you get this part right here where you got the buyer's signatures, the seller's signatures.
What's above that, though?
Well, executed the blank day of blank,
And
2000 blank.
How important is that executed date?
It's very important. It's very, very important. But you can't fill that out until you've signed below it. Why they put that there like that, I do not know.
So let me ask you a question. Can you just type in here the actual date instead of filling it out the way it's written?
No.
No, you cannot. Every legal document in the state of Texas requires the execution date to be filled out this way. So agents will take the easy way out and stick a text box in here on the electronic signing company that they use, and they'll put on here, July 16th, 2020, when they're supposed to put the 16th day of July 2020. So that is just one little thing that an attorney can take and run with.
Yes, and at which point in time do you fill that box in?
The last time that the last signature or initial is made on the contract.
And there are no more things that are going to be changed.
Nothing else will be changed or added.
If anything else is changed or added after that point in time, it is on an amendment. That's it. End of story.
Period.